owned, controlled, and governed by a sheikdom, a prominent area of the Arabian Peninsula on the western coast of the Persian Gulf is the state of Qatar. Unified in 1858, the country shares a border with Saudi Arabia by lands and maritime borders with Iran, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates. A large number of people in the world didn't even know about the state of Qatar before the FIFA World Cup 2022. Also, the country is not a large one in terms of geography or global geopolitics. It is a small country with an area of 11,581 square kilometers and a population of only 2.7 million people. But still, it's the same country that has beaten the United States and many other superpowers of the world in winning the bid for organizing the World Cup 2022. How this small country in the Arabian Peninsula ran like an Arabian horse to become one of the most economically strong countries in the world will be explored in today's case study. Also, how organizing the World Cup has ensured the country's participation in global geopolitics for the upcoming decades will also be explored in this video. The energy industry. In terms of per capita GDP, the economy of Qatar is one of the highest in the world, and for a long time, it has been the richest country in the world based on the personal income of its citizens. The country has consistently been on the list of the top 10 richest countries in the world by the rankings of the World Bank, the United Nations, and also the IMF. The economy of Qatar has always been in challenge due to the border conflicts with the neighbors like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Coming to revenues, the key source of revenue for the country's economy are petroleum and natural gas. These two sources are the cornerstone of the Qatari economy, bringing up to 70% of the national income. Also, 60% of the GDP of Qatar citizens is dependent upon the two sources. The number of export earnings generated by the Qatar government from natural gas and petroleum is 85%. Simply, the Qatar economy is dependent on the energy sector. Though the country is very small in size, Qatar is the third largest source of natural gas around the world based on proven reserves, which makes it one of the most geopolitically important regions in the world. Also, it is the second largest exporter of natural gas, which makes the country very rich. But the country was never these much rich. The fate of Qatar changed 40 to 50 years ago when the world saw the emergence of petroleum-based industries. Before that, the country was nothing but a poor pearl-driving country. The exploration of natural gas and oil started in Qatar in the year 1939, and still, the country took time to establish itself as an economic power slowly. In the initial years of the 1970s, the demand for natural oil increased dramatically all over the planet. At that time, Qatar saw a boost in its oil production and revenues. This way, by the end of the 1980s, the country came out of the bubble of the poor and entered the bubble of the rich. But again in the 1980s, the country saw a downturn due to the low prices of oil and other energy sources around the world. During the time of 1982 to 1989, these downturns took place. The Qatar government struggled to deal with this continuous recession. But by the early 90s, a large number of people from South Asia migrated to the Middle East countries for jobs, and their lower labor rate helped Arabian countries like Qatar to balance their economies. The main sources of income for Qatar have been natural gas, and a report in 2017 suggested that the country was left with 858 trillion cubic feet of proven gas reserves. Based on the annual extraction made by the country, it is left with more than 600 years of gas reserves. Also, the country extracts 500,000 barrels of oil per day, which is the peak level. But the oil production of Qatar will mostly be depleted by the end of 2023. But the country is still finding out new sources of oil and gas. The research has led to the foundation of new gas sources on the northern east coast of the country, and reports also suggest that more natural energy can be found in those regions. Qatar is not a country that was only led by luck and got to the top point of the world economy. Strategic management and the stronghold of the government have also been the major players in Qatar's reformation as a global economic superpower. The government of Qatar has implanted its policies well and the long-term economic plans of the country are also playing a crucial role for the government to sustain the economic power the country is holding currently. Though the sources of oil have been limited for the country already, there are still resources that are being used for more exploration and to continue the economic run. If we look into the quantities of natural resources of Qatar, they look like this. 1. The natural gas reserves of the country exceed 7,000 square kilometers, making it the third largest on the planet. 2. The heavy industrial projects based in Umsaid have a refinery of a capacity to extract 50,000 barrels. This includes a urea and ammonia plant, a steel plant, and a petrochemical plant. 3. All the industries based in Qatar use gas for fuel, which is cheaper as Qatar is the home country. This makes Qatar a great country for foreign direct investments. 4. The country is already heavily invested in European and Japanese companies, which adds large revenue to the national income. 5. The US is heavily investing in finding new sources of gas and oil on the northeast coast of the country, and this makes Qatar a highly powerful trading partner of the United States. Not only these, but the Qatar government has also played a vital role in assuring their power over the businesses held in Qatar. The government has taken a project called Qatarization, which gives Qatari nationals to get a position of higher authority in the companies working in Qatar. Under this policy, the companies and joint ventures working in Qatar have to hire officials from Qatar to conduct the projects. Qataris are investing largely in education, and they are using the education learned in the Western world to implement in their national projects so that Qatar has always authority over their resources. While the nations of Africa couldn't use their natural resources only for the corrupt governments and a large number of uneducated people, Qatar has ensured its authority over its resources. Also, discipline has played a role in Qatar to ensure proper utilization of manpower. The main source of Qatari labor is the South Asian expatriates. The government has made strict policies to get a grip on immigrants. What if the energy sector collapses? The energy sector will be the main source of revenue for Qatar for many upcoming decades. But still, the only way to sustain economic development is to diversify the income streams. Depending on only one revenue source pushes the country to heavier threats of collapse too. This portion of the case study will explore what Qatar is doing to deal with such a situation if it rises. Qatar has done well in securing foreign direct investments in the last few decades. But the officials of Qatar know very well that only the natural resources will not be enough for them to survive in the long run. Once the natural resources will start to decline, Qatar and other Middle Eastern countries will start to fall from global economic importance. To secure their future, different countries have used different strategies. For example, Dubai has invested heavily in the tourism sector and they are expanding other businesses slowly with time. But Qatar has played a crucial game in recent years to attract foreign investors to the country. The game played by Qatar was the FIFA World Cup 2022. And while everyone in the world is focusing on how Argentina has escaped its curse of not winning the World Cup for 36 years, Qatar has played a crucial geopolitical game. The question here is how? Sports is a key way to show your country to the world. Did you ever ask yourself why countries around the world invest largely to bring big sports events to their country? Some might think of tourism revenues as the answer. But if you look into the investments made by Qatar in the FIFA World Cup 2022, you will not think of tourism again. Qatar has invested over $300 billion in organizing the FIFA World Cup 2022. And the interesting fact here is, the tourism revenues of the next 20 years will not bring $300 billion to the Qatar economy. So, why did Qatar invest so much in this project? The answer is foreign direct investments. World Cups, the Olympics, and their big sports investments are called the marketing campaigns of governments. In the early days of the last century, the Hitler government was the first government to implement this strategy. When Germany thought of developing a clean image in front of the world, they organized the 1936 Olympics, and it played very well for them. Since then, countries invest heavily in global events just to show their good condition to the world. Compared to World War I and World War II, the global economy has stabilized a lot. In the past 50 years, most of the global sports events organized by different countries in the world have only been marketing campaigns run by governments. Qatar has played the same game to show its worth to millions of investors around the world. After the finals of the World Cup 2022, FIFA announced that 1.5 billion people around the world watched the World Cup final. This is the main reason why people call the World Cup the greatest show on earth. And the Qatar government is aware of the fact that foreign investors coming to the country for attending the World Cup will be their source of industrialization and progress in the future. Controversies raised, and some FIFA officials have been arrested as there have been claims that the Qatar government paid huge amounts to them to win the bid for organizing the World Cup. But at the end of the day, Qatar has won the bid and successfully organized the FIFA World Cup. This way, the country has also created the path for a large amount of foreign direct investments in the future. When the significance of gas and oil will likely reduce, foreign direct investments will aid the country. Also, foreign direct investments play a crucial role in global geopolitics. When a country will have a significant number of projects invested in Qatar, it will likely maintain good relations with the Qatari government. This is only one crucial strategy we have discussed here about the strategies for foreign direct investments by Qatar. The country has implemented more strategies to diversify the economy to remain in the global context. Qatar has not become a regional power with one person's single effort or in one day. Its key source of power has always been natural resources. But the country has shown the world how the proper utilization of position, wealth, and human resources can make a country wealthier with time. Qatar now invests in football teams around the world. The country has a strong presence in global media and it is heavily invested in Western wealth. Qatar is the perfect instance of how a poor country on the northeastern coast of the Arabian Peninsula rose to power while prioritizing its people and resources.